evening and welcome to Mello TV. I'm your host, Nicole Hales. The Mello TV poll conducted by Bill Johnson was the first to predict the JLP's landslide victory in the last general election, spot on in 2020, with the Prime Minister's favorability rating at 76% and approval at 81%. Tonight, we will look at the numbers and what they're saying after 2 years of the JLP-led government and how it has affected Prime Minister Andrew Holness as the leader of the country. Joining the discussion is our renowned and credible pollster, Bill Johnson. Also joining us tonight to analyze the findings is Deputy Mayor of Montego Bay, Councillor Richard Vernon. In the second half of the program, we will also be joined by political analyst and commentator, Paul Bourne. Gentlemen, good evening and thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Bill, let's get straight into the numbers. The viewers want to know, how are the numbers showing in regards to the rating of the government?
Okay, well, we asked people to rate the job the government is doing as either very good, good, poor, or very poor, or neither good nor poor. And basically 43% rated the government as either good or very good, 29% poor or very poor, and 21% neither, said neither. Now, you'll recall that last Thursday when we were discussing the results in terms of which direction people felt the country was going in, only 16% mentioned they thought the country was going in the right direction, and 62% said they thought it was going in the wrong direction. But here we have 43% saying the government's doing a very good or a good job. So obviously the people aren't blaming the government in general for the way that they feel the country is going. They feel the country is going to hell in a handbasket, so to speak, but they're not directly blaming the government for that, at least at this time. Now, another interesting thing is, you'll recall that we discussed how the people feel the government is doing in terms of COVID. Well, the numbers for COVID are exactly the same as they are for how the government is doing overall. 44% say the government's doing a good job with COVID. 43% say the government's doing a good job overall. 30% said the government was doing a poor job with COVID. 29% say the government's doing a poor job overall. So basically, people are rating the government the way they perceive the government is doing in terms of fighting COVID. So if things with COVID look better in the near future, that's obviously going to inure to perceptions of the favorable perceptions of the government. If things don't look so good, it's going to inure to the detriment in terms of how they feel about COVID. So the government's ratings at this point are directly tied to perceptions of the way people perceive it's doing in terms of COVID. Now, the government receives a plurality of favorable ratings that's very good or good from every demographic and political group at this time, except for PNP voters. 26% of PNP voters say the government's doing a good job. 50% say they're doing a poor job. JLP voters, 66% good job, 13% poor job. And those who didn't vote, 40% good job, 29% poor job. So as I say, it's really very interesting. Only 16% feel the country's going in the right direction, yet 43% give the government positive ratings for the job it's doing.
Councillor Vernon, you just heard the numbers that Bill gave us a while ago. Given the times that we're currently experiencing, what do you have to say about the performance of the government based on what you've just heard?
Well, let me say good evening again, everybody. Good evening, Jamaica. Well, the numbers are very much interesting, of course. given the times that we're in, I'm not surprised because we have to consider the people's situatedness, meaning that oftentimes when they give an opinion or speak to the reality of what they're experiencing, it is about how they are positioned in society at the time, positioned in terms of their financial standing. And therefore, they will react or give that a particular opinion at the time as to how they're feeling. Jamaica is that type of country that is driven by how you feel at a given point in time. So when you get a point in time data or statistics rather of a sample, then you will get that feeling, what they're feeling at the time when they're feeling it. But if the pandemic goes away shortly, and things start to get back to a level of normalcy, I really believe that the figures will change, and they will change, going in a positive direction, because they would believe at the time that the government is indeed working for them and that things are getting better. But we also have to be considerate, well, not considerate, but consider the fact that we are operating and we're living in a global village. So things that affects us internationally also has a way of driving or opinion or feelings about things. For example, gas prices. We don't have much of a control over gas prices at the moment, but it affects us financially, and it affects an individual financially. So if they feel as if the government is doing a good job, they're good guys, or they're doing all the best that they can at the time. But boy, right now my pocket not feeling so good. I'm going to feel as if things are going in the wrong direction. As Shakespeare would say, all is well that ends well.
Councillor Vernon, still with you. There's a large contingent of young politicians in the Jamaica Labour Party. What are your views on the perception that this percentage of young politicians have helped the government? And has it truly helped the government? And if so, how has it?
Well, I am not really 100% certain as to what the statistic is in regards to the voter population in terms of its youthfulness or its aging, or if it is aging. But what I can tell you is that there's a significant percentage of the population that is a youthful population. Therefore, when you have members of a political party who are young and you have a population that is youthful, they like to see persons who look like them, they like to see persons who they can relate to, and therefore they will vote. Even though you have some persons who have faith in persons who seem wise, older, more experienced and all of that, it is always good to have persons who you can identify yourself with. And at that point in time, they will support or throw their support behind a system or an organization that is supporting what looks like them.
As Deputy Mayor and Councillor, how are you assisting in ensuring that the JP-led government is effective in the development of this country?
Well, as Deputy Mayor, we operate at a subnational level. So we have to ensure that whatever we're doing, it is to the benefit and development of the country in general at a local level. So what we're doing at the St. James Municipal Corporation at this time is to look at our local sustainable development plan and to put all the necessary things in place to ensure that we can drive local economic development and that we can do so in a sustainable way. Once we have achieved this, then of course the municipality will be better off, because once we ascertain a sustainable level of local development, that feeds into the national development plan, and therefore collectively at a local government level we can contribute to national development.
Councillor Vernon, as a representative of the next generation of leaders in the party, what do you want the Jamaican people to know about the focus of this government?
The focus of this government is always to ensure that the people of Jamaica are better off. And therefore we ensure that, and I will go back to the local government level, we ensure that certain basic needs are in place. For example, We ensure that we have infrastructure that can also drive local development, because the faster you can move, the more the economy will grow. We ensure that persons have access to water, and if they don't, we try our best to figure ways and means by which water can be delivered to some communities that are in need of water. We try to bolster our local economic development program, and through that we have invested almost $60 million over the past 3 years into small businesses, micro businesses. We have also spent much time looking for our vulnerable people, the persons who fall under our rule of poor, the persons who are outdoor, the homeless. We spend a lot of time dealing with those persons, and to ensure that they are in good health and they are being taken care of. So we have many programs that we drive at a local level, and we, if I should name them all, I'll spend all evening talking about them. But that is what encapsulates the vision, the goal, and the drive of this government, to ensure that we move not just from poverty to prosperity, as we would have said leading up to our 2016 election, but that we continue to recover and that we continue to build together as a people, as a nation.
Bill, let's look at the favorability of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. What are the numbers showing?
Okay, well, after being in the stratosphere 18 months ago at 76% favorable, the Prime Minister's favorable ratings have come back down to earth and have sort of fallen like a rock off of Spur Tree Hill, although it's only fallen halfway down the hill at this point. It should be noted that he's still favorably perceived by a 3-2 margin, 46% to 28%, which is a rating that most politicians these days would be enthusiastic to have. I mean, given everything that's happening throughout the world today. But of course, that 46% compares to 76% 18 months ago. His unfavorable rating has gone from 14% to 28%, and those who aren't sure from 10% to 26%. Now, the Prime Minister still has a favorable rating amongst every demographic and political group except PNP voters, who actually did rate him favorably 18 months ago. But JLP voters today rate him 77% favorable, 11% unfavorable. PNP is 21% favorable, 54% unfavorable, and those who didn't vote are 43% favorable, 29% unfavorable. So, the ratings are down, but they had a long way to come down, and he's still in very, very good shape in terms of his favorable perceptions.
Councillor Vernon, you just heard the favorability ratings for the Prime Minister. Your thoughts?
But it is still a very good look that at this point in time, going through what we are going through, unprecedented times, that the numbers are still showing a high favorable rating for the Prime Minister. We're talking about almost 50%, right? It is looking good. We need to navigate ourselves out of this pandemic. I think it has a lot to do with what is happening. And of course, a lot of persons would be of the view that he's trying, but other things are happening, and therefore we have to take those into consideration. So, and as I said before, when you take a sample at a particular point in time, that is what you're going to get. In terms of the validity, it may be even affected by the historical threat, because you have a pandemic going on right now. Crime is on the I wouldn't say rise, but it is at a high, and no level of crime is acceptable, but it is at a level that it is affecting persons. With the pandemic comes also other ills such as a decline in economic output and you know, persons are stress, yeah, social problems. So while the general feeling of the population is that uh, you know, things are not 100% right, the prime minister is still seen as the best person to be in charge at this time.
Our team visited the streets and asked the public their thoughts on the favorability rating of the government. Here's what they had to say.
I think it needs improvement. Their focus, I think it's a bit off. For example, they're working on making Portmore Parish. There are other important things that should be doing right now, rather than trying to develop a new parish. For example, the education system, where we have a lot of students out of school due to the coronavirus.
It's ups and down government, you know, because you have the good, the bad, and indifference. Yes. Pertaining to anti-wellness, there's a lot of transparency. What I've seen now, things are more exposed. Anything is being hidden is exposed. So I think the government is doing a good job so far, but yet there are grassroots people that need more attention. Person like me too, I'm a grassroots person, and there's a lot of things that is circulating around for the richer people. And we here, as the people down here, I think you need to come down a little lower to meet us halfway and hear our growls, because there's a lot of things that's happening that we would like somebody to talk to us so that we can get some good response, grassroots people.
You know, they have tried and they can only do so much. But with crime and violence rising, cost of living rising, corruption rising, because even yesterday I was listening to a newscast that, you know, the FLA, there's been so much corruption in the past years, which does add to crime and violence.
The government overall, I don't think that ministers and members of parliament understand that they have to work with the people. Many people in the constituencies don't even know who their MP is. They must know who their member of parliament is. They need to walk up the hillside sometimes and get to know them, what their problems are. And those are the things they need to know about. Very important. But if they don't, I don't see that is being done.
Overall, and Jamaica government now, one thing we want to see, the crime get out of hand. So I really want to see the government come together. Opposition, leaders, everybody come together and try put something together for the whole Jamaica. You understand? So we can live as one and work as one and make Jamaica a better country, so people from overseas can come visit us and don't be afraid of Jamaica.
Councillor Vernon, you would have just heard the comments from the public regarding the favorability of the government. Before you leave us this evening, tell us what are your thoughts on the responses of the public?
Well, the political culture of Jamaica is a little different than other places in the world. The political culture of Jamaica sees the leader as the boss, as the big man, as the daddy, the father, the everything. So we tend not to take matters into our own hands oftentimes. And also, it has a very personal touch to it. So it is not one that you're going to just swing by and say hello, you pass, you wave, and I'm the big man, and you're gone. It's not that. They want a personal touch. They want to be able to call you and get you. They want to be able to see you, to touch you, to say hello, we have this problem or that problem. And as leaders, that is what we have to offer to the people of Jamaica, even when carrying out our duties as ministers, as prime minister, you name them, councillors, you name them, that we have to do that. So we have to find that balance in terms of touching base with people, keeping that contact, representing them. It is a heavy task. So therefore, you have to ensure that mentally you're capable of doing it, and emotionally you're willing to do it as well. That is one of the issue raised by one of the respondents that I'm seeing here. But also, uh, there are persons who say that there's corruption, there is crime, and those are major concerns. Well, corruption, the thing with corruption is that if you do not know what is happening, then it is really corruption. But when we can put systems in place, systems to monitor, systems to evaluate whatever investment, whatever program, whatever projects, whatever plans we put in place, if we have those systems in place that can, unearth the corruption that is in it, then I see where we are doing good in terms of dealing with corruption. I see where we are practicing good and transparent governance, right? But if we don't have these systems in place and corruption goes unknown, then that is where the corruption really lies. So you're hearing about it because there are systems in place to address them. On the matter of crime, as I said, the political culture that we have has a lot to do with how our people perceive government, perceive leadership. And with that comes the lack of a certain level of responsibility. All those persons who are doing the killing, all those persons who are importing the guns, all those persons who are in gun trade, these persons, they have mothers, they have fathers, they have aunties, cousins, brothers. People know who they are. They are not aliens from a different planet. They are not persons coming out of the dark when it gets dark, coming out and doing all manner of evil. But they have persons who are they related to. So where is the responsibility of those persons who they are related to in helping us to deal with the matter that we are faced with, the matter of crime? Where are these people? Government can put systems in place, but the system will not be effective unless the people want it to be effective. In fact, if you try to be draconian in your policies, draconian in your enforcement, then they say that you're oppressing them, you're pushing back against the people. Look at the matter of vending. If we are to be draconian in managing the vending in Montego Bay, for example, then they say that we don't care for them, we don't love them, we want to see their business mash up. But at the same time, there's another set of stakeholders who are being affected by the practice of vending in certain places. Not that we won't provide a place for you to vend, because we believe in vending. We believe that there's a culture of vending, and therefore we have to preserve that culture because it is a productive culture. It generates revenue for persons who are operating micro businesses. So we want to facilitate it. It's a part of our local economy. So we're not against it, but we want to manage it. And it is the same with crime. It's not that we are for crime. It is in terms of, when I said it's the same thing with crime, I'm referring to the fact
thank you
that
so
we want to
much,
put certain
Councillor
things in place.
Vernon. I know that there's so much you would want to say, but
Right.
we appreciate your participation in this evening's discussion.
No problem. Thank you very much for having
And
me.
we've just heard from Deputy Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon. Our team also visited streets and asked the public their thought on the favorability of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Here's what they had to say.
All right, so as Prime Minister of Jamaica, I think that he has tried. I think it would be a bit unfair to say or to be a bit judgmental about it, but given previous press conferences and media interviews, I would say I'm a bit worried. Worried in the sense that he has given up or dropped the mantle, especially considering COVID and all that. Essentially, what I gathered from a couple previous media outlets on his views and all of that is basically, okay, I'm just throwing in the towel and whatever happens just happens, so it's kind of a sticky situation on his half, mainly because of COVID. And, with the sliding dollar and all of that, US is up and cost of living is just increasing, so it's looking very dark for us as Jamaicans and the economy as well. But he has tried not so much hard enough. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
Presently, as a person that is in the tourism here, I would give it half and half. Yes, yeah, we're doing some good thing for most people, but most of us still not getting enough of what is being imparted out there. So we still waiting on him to do at least open the country then, because most countries are open, so that for those who are in the tourism and other private sector here working here can achieve more from what is happening around us now.
Well, I think he's doing a pretty good job given the task that he has to perform and the current situation of the country. So that's basically it. I think there are certain things that need improvement, but they are working on it.
Well, I think Andrew Holness is trying very hard. But there are so many things in the society which are uneven and unequal.
Joining us now is political analyst and commentator Paul Bourne. Paul, you've been listening to the conversation and you've heard the numbers. What are those numbers expected? What are your views on the performance of the government?
Oh, I'm using figures as is, but I want to contextualize something for the deputy mayor. Let the deputy mayor understand that corruption is not really a simple matter of an individual perception. Corruption is well calculated by Transparency International, and you can actually go and consult that in terms of seeing what is happening there. So let's look at some figures now. 46% favorability rating or approval rating by the Prime Minister, and that has decreased by almost 40% when he started compared to now. All right, so that's a 40% decline. So he's at 46%. So let's contextualize fully what is going on here, because we need to make comparison between some other places to see how the Prime Minister is doing. 1952, Harry Truman in the United States approval rating on ending office was 32%. 1960, Dwight Eisenhower, 59%. 1969, Lyndon Johnson, 49%. 2022, currently, Joe Biden, 41%. Barack Obama ending office was 57%. Ronald Reagan was 67%. Donald Trump was 34%. So let's contextualize some stuff. So what does it mean about the Prime Minister in terms of his favorability ratings? It is extremely high. Even though we are saying the figure is relatively low, but in comparison to other individuals internationally, or particularly the United States, his favorability rating is high. Now, a number of things have been mentioned, and a number of things are creating problems for the government, and particularly Mr. Holness. All right, the matter relating to crime, the matter relating to inequality. But what I don't seem to understand is a number of persons do not seem to understand that killing people in Jamaica, if they are criminals, is not the solution. Because all we are doing, we are breeding more criminals. All right? There are some structural issues happening in the country. So unless somebody addresses those structural issues, we're going to always have problems. So in essence, we are saying Mr. Holness is doing very good in terms of his favorability ratings. But if things continue like that, Mr. Holness' favorability rating might even fall below that of Donald Trump, who has been in the lowest in the United States.
Bill, let's look at the ratings for the Prime Minister. Break down the numbers for us.
His approval numbers have also taken a major hit, crashing by 33 points since our last poll, from 81% down to 48%, but still by better than a 3-2 plurality, 48% to 31%, those interviewed still approve of the job he's doing. I'm referring to the Prime Minister as the Teflon leader at this point, as many of the negative things that are perceived to be happening in the country today just don't appear to be sticking to him. Once again, all demographic and political groups approve of the job that he's doing, except PNP voters. JLP voters are 75 approve, 17 disapprove. PNP 27 approve, 54 disapprove. And those who didn't vote, 44 approve, 30 disapprove. So he's in the enviable position, really, of as I said, people don't like the way the country is heading, yet it's not sticking to him in terms of blame for it at this point.
Paul, what are the factors that could have led to this vast decline in favorability for Prime Minister Holness?
Well, a number of things, and fundamentally on them is what Bill spoke to us about the last time, the matter relating to crime. Jamaicans have actually become so much engrossed in actually seeing persons being murdered, and they are just downright tired of that. So people want to see a solution to the crime problem, and they don't think that there's a solution to the crime problem. One, people want to see some of the structural things change inside the society, which have not been happening, and it goes beyond just the Jamaica Labour Party to all the parties that have been in power in Jamaica, both PMP and JLP. But not only that, people also want to see the country open. So that's also helping to gauge some of the disappointment that people are having inside the government. And the other thing relating to unemployment, cost of living. I'm sure all of us Jamaicans have actually gone to the stores and supermarkets and actually see what is going on. And sometimes I really wonder, what is really going on in Jamaica. It takes so much money to buy things when your salary is constant. So these are things that people are looking at. Then the other thing is COVID. We have not dealt with COVID effectively up to now. So all of those things are actually causing the JLP and particularly the Prime Minister favorability rating to fall. So when Bill say that the Prime Minister's favorability rating is still high and people don't want to associate with the thing, and I'm saying not really so, Bill. The fact that his favorability rating has declined by 40%, people are putting a part of the blame to the Prime Minister. Because look at the figures, 76, 46, a 40% decline. So people are attributing much of what is going on to the Prime Minister. Almost 40% decline in his favorability rating. So people are associating to the
Paul,
Prime Minister.
Paul, let me correct you a bit. It's 30% decline. 30% decline.
Yes, so people are associating that to the Prime Minister. All right? Thank you very much for that. So I am saying is not that people are not associating the things to the Prime Minister or to the government. But what people are saying is, listen, you're still doing a good job because it's 46%, almost 50%. All right? And if you look at the favorability rating of many other persons in other parts of the world, and I took out the United States to sort of show that when you look at the favorability rating of 46%, it's very high. All right? It's just that people are saying, Mr. Holness, there's something that you need to address. That's all people are saying.
All right, let's shift gear a bit, Paul. Let's talk solutions. Are there ways the Prime Minister can recover from this and regain the favor of the Jamaican people? And how would you recommend he go about doing this?
Well, absolutely. And a number of things that can be done. But some of the things are not going to be short term. Some of the things are going to be medium and long term. All right? So what I would advise the Prime Minister to do is actually come to the public and let them know that, listen, we're going to be introducing state of emergency and some sort of lockdown in terms of for the next 2 months to address some of the things that are happening here in terms of crime. Then the medium term, we are going to actually try to jumpstart the economy by doing so and so. In the long term, try to deal with many of the injustices inside society. Because when you look at a country in which an individual commits a crime and that individual gets 2 years, another individual commits the same crime and gets 40 years. And most of the individuals are black. Not to say in America, where some are white, some are black, or some are Caucasian and some are actually African American. Most all the people inside Jamaica, 90% of them, are for a particular race. So how do you have that sort of injustice? And people see these things. Sometimes even how the very police behave with you is also another matter of concern. The system relating to even how food prices are structured. All of these things must be addressed. And we need to start addressing them as a people, not only the government, but as a people. But the Prime Minister need to put in place some structures to let persons start looking at their things. The next thing we need to do is to start deciding that we're going to disassociate ourselves from thieves and murderers and things like that. And Mr. Holness needs to come forward, and those persons who are in his constituency, let them know to the police who these guys are. If he wants to show that there's a solution, show by example that, listen, this is where I'm actually going, and then while addressing some of the short-term things, he's addressing the medium term and the long term to have Jamaica safe. Yes, all Jamaicans would like to open their doors and sleep with their doors open. But the reality is, can some person do that?
Very powerful and strident recommendations being made, Paul. Bill, come tomorrow, what can we expect?
Tomorrow we're going to see if the Jamaican public is experiencing buyer's remorse in the fact that they didn't elect the PNP to control the government in the last general election, and whether or not they think that Peter Phillips would be doing a better job as Prime Minister today than Andrew Holness. And also we're going to be getting the favorable ratings of the opposition leader, Mark Golding. So I think people will find both of those things very, very interesting.
We're definitely looking forward to the findings of those come tomorrow. There you have it. Join us tomorrow and every weekday until February 25 to get the answers to many more important questions during the Mello TV Bill Johnson poll, and listen to Mello FM and Rhythm FM newscasts for the recap. I want to thank this evening's guests, Pollster Bill Johnson, political analyst and commentator Paul Bourne, and Deputy Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon. I'm Nicole Hales on behalf of the entire production team. Thanks for watching.